Yeah.
What's happening, everybody? Anyway, our UFC 160. Our UFC 162. What had just happened was this was a very, very, very interesting card, everybody. UFC 162. We're going to start out with the featherweight bout between Cub Swanson and Denis Siver, which looked like, actually, at the first round when the fight first started.
How about we talk about who we called to win the fight?
Cub Swanson.
Exactly.
We called Cub Swanson to win the fight, and for a while, it was a very evenly matched fight, and that was for probably about the first 2 minutes of the first round, and then Cub Swanson put on the fucking afterburners, and
ended that shit.
And ended that shit with like a couple minutes left in the third round. Cub Swanson is on a tear lately.
Dennis Siver's arms are too short.
He's just struggling lately, man. Dennis Siver's definitely
like somebody's little brother going.
Yeah,
trying to hit
the Tyrannosaurus crocodile arm shit wasn't. Now, Dennis, I'll never say that shit to your face. I know George wouldn't either.
That might be the only MMA fighter that you and I could look down to.
I got some long ass arms too. So anyway,
and he's about this tall.
Congratulations to Cub Swanson because you are on a roll. In the featherweight, they've got him ranked at number 5. I think he's probably going to stay there because people above him are really nasty. I don't see him pushing up into those ranks.
And the one thing that I pointed out to Kevin is he's not your typical Greg Jackson fighter, which
is
so refreshing.
He was taking so many chances trying to finish that fight. And I'm thinking, dude, just, you got the fight easily, glide it out and don't take a chance getting hit with one of those up kicks. But he was like, fuck it, I want to finish this fight. And you got to tip your hat off for that shit. Now, the middleweight bout between Mark Munoz and Tim Boetsch was great because
both called wrong.
We both called wrong.
I put my money on Tim Boetsch because Tim Boetsch has been the more active fighter, but he got dominated. It was old school Tito Ortiz looking ground and pound from Mark Munoz from beginning to end.
Yes.
Landed crazy punches, and the only thing crazier than this was the one score, like 3 professional judges with 3 scores that aren't even in the same, like what were they watching?
I don't know what the fuck was going on with all that shit. I mean, I looked at that fight and the first round was close for probably half the first round, very similar to the Cub Swanson bout. But after that, Mark Munoz just dominated. Yeah. I mean, he was looking he was looking the best he's looked in a long. It might have been one of his best performances ever. It really was.
Easily.
It was a great fight. He just really showed off his wrestling, and it's like, like you said, his ground and pound was nasty, and his Boetsch didn't have an answer for him.
I just hope he can stay healthy. He's had a rash of injuries, and he's battling depression and showed and put on. I mean, if you guys want to see it, go out there and look at the weight gain photos.
Yeah.
He got up to 250 some pounds.
Yeah, one time he was 250.
That's a shit ton of weight to drop all the way down the middle.
Yeah, I mean, he's cutting 65 fucking pounds.
That's a ton of weight.
But I tell you what, he looked nasty. He cut that shit right, and he fucking worked.
Did you find your spot yet?
Yeah, I'm trying to find my spot. I'm kind of going back and forth and like in like, see,
Kevin had to relocate.
Yeah. So we got a whole new setup here. George and I don't have any mics in our hands now because
So go ahead and complain about the sound.
You can see our pretty faces and shit.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah. Now, let's move on to the middleweight bout. Okay, and this is the middleweight bout that featured Tim Kennedy going up against Gracie. Go ahead.
Why don't you say his first name?
Roger Gracie.
No.
Roger Gracie?
There we go.
Okay. Now,
we're in America. Roger spelled R-O-G-E-R.
Now, George and I called this
therefore, I will not call you Hodger because we're in America.
Why not Hodger?
Because his name's Roger. I'm fucking with you. I get it. Your name's Hodger Gracie. You know what? You're a great BJJ practitioner. After tonight, go back to BJJ.
And people who thought George was disrespecting him, you guys, it cracks me the fuck up because you're not listening, and it's so fucking annoying. George never said nothing about the guy's BJJ. We know he's an incredible BJJ practitioner.
I said his stand-up stinks.
But being great at BJJ and an MMA fighter are 2 different things. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. Usain Bolt is the fastest man in the world. He can run his ass off. No one can beat him in the 100 meter. No one can beat him in the 200 meter. Do you think he go out and win the Olympic decathlon tomorrow?
No.
No, because you got to do 10 different events. You got to have 10 different skill sets, and it's a lot more than just sprinting when you do the decathlon. And that's what we were trying to say, and you guys were translating to it being disrespectful or not.
And you're right. You know what? The way I put it, you're right. It was very disrespectful for you sensitive bitches who watch this show who are Hodger Gracie fans. I'm sorry you're sensitive.
Hodger.
I'm sorry your fighter sucks at stand-up. And you know what? After tonight, in 15 minutes, anyone want to take a stab at how many strikes he landed / threw?
He landed 16 strikes, and Tim Kennedy, who looked like a sawed-off midget fighting him, landed probably about 190-some strikes. Now, this is the crazy thing. Joe Rogan, for some reason during the telecast, lost his marbles and said his striking improved. No, his striking defense proved. And I'm thinking, yes, Gracie's striking defense proved because he fought a guy that was literally 5 inches shorter than him.
His head movement didn't improve. And look, Hodger, you have some of the greatest fans in the world, and they happen to all watch our last video.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm glad you came out and defended your fighter, but I hope the same people who defended you can sit here after that fight and realize that maybe MMA is not your thing.
It's not.
And it's not. Your head movement's horrible. Your hands are, let's rephrase that. Your punches aren't crisp.
I'm going to tell you what. If that was a 5-round fight, the way he was getting winded, it would not have surprised me if he got so tired, Tim Kennedy tapped him out.
Now,
because Tim Kennedy had all the takedowns. Tim Kennedy was controlling him from the ground. I mean, this is a guy who's awesome at BJJ. It's just that when you get ragged out and you get tagged a couple times, just like Joe Rogan says, you're BJJ when shit goes out the window.
And now, I know what all you Hodger Gracie fans are going to say next. Well, he should fight at 205. Fine. Fight at 205. Who you want to fight? You pick. Because you're going to lose. Because it's not a BJJ match.
No, and you only go in the 205. You're going to see a lot of lengthier, better strikers.
You're going to see somebody who's going to get to that non-moving head of yours.
Just accept the fact that the guy is incredible at BJJ. And we'll give him mad daps to that. But when it comes to over into the MMA world,
striking of any sort, he can't kick, he can't punch.
Yeah, he's just not
horrible.
I mean, he's better than the average guy, but he's not to the caliber of the middleweights in the UFC or light heavyweights,
not even mid-tier,
or even the fucking bantam super feather fucking flyweight.
So no disrespect, but your stand-up's rotten.
Yeah, because the guy's a great BJJ.
Fuck you.
Now we're gonna go on. In a
and by fuck you, I mean all you fans who are way too sensitive.
I know, you guys are gonna fucking get butthurt over dumb shit. Now, there was a featherweight
fight of the night.
My boy, Frankie Edgar. I love to see this guy fight because he brings it. And I tell you what, he was going up against another guy that brings it, this 23-year-old cat, Charles Oliveira. He is a good...
Quick question. Knockout of the night, in my opinion, goes to the very last fight we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So, would you... do you give fight of the night also to that one, or do you give it to Frankie? Because me... Overall, I would give fight of the night to Frankie. I would give knockout of the night to Weidman.
Yeah, I would give fight of the night to Frankie Edgar because it was exciting on both ends. You know, I think Frankie Edgar, you know, it seemed closer than what it actually was. Frankie Edgar had all the takedowns. Frankie Edgar basically connected in every fucking round several times, and they had a 30-27. And to be honest, I had it 30-27. Although each round, the first round was very close, and the third round at the beginning was close. But still, Frankie won all the rounds, in my opinion.
And Frankie did exactly what we thought he'd have to do to win. He had to get inside, close distance, and throw big punches, and he did. Unfortunately, he didn't knock that cat out, and he had him hurt in the first round, he had him hurt in the second round, he had him hurt in the third round.
Yeah.
And Oliveira is 23 and has nothing but a humongous upside.
He has a huge upside. I mean, and I was telling George during the course of the fight, I'm like, you know what? This guy can't lose here. I mean, if he beats Frankie Edgar, then it is fucking awesome. If he loses in the fashion that he's fighting right now against Frankie Edgar, he's still won, in my opinion, because he's so young and you're going up against a guy that is just nasty and been top of his class in the featherweights, top of the class, and a lightweight champion. So, in my opinion, they both are winners.
Yeah, that was a win-win. To me, again, that's fight of the night. I think this puts Frankie Edgar, I guess, right back in.
Right back there. I mean,
featherweights.
Yeah, him and Pettis and Aldo, you know. Now, the main event, which was just crazy, obviously all of us know, featured Anderson Silva going up against Chris Weidman.
Yeah, I feel bad for you guys who are looking for non-spoilers because your shit's ruined.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because everybody's spoiling.
Everyone knows about this by now. Knockout of the night goes to Chris Weidman.
Knockout of the night goes to Chris Weidman. I am a huge Anderson Silva fan. George is a huge Anderson Silva fan. But I'm going to tell you, I think George will tell you, I spit it the way I see it. Anderson Silva was doing crazy baiting moves. He was really trying to fuck around and toy with Chris Weidman. And I truly believe in my heart he was doing that because at the beginning of that first round, he was getting dominated. He was being held down. He was having problems in his guard. Weidman was starting to get some ground and pound action. And at that point in time, at least in my eyes, I thought the only way that Anderson Silva can win this fight is to knock him out. or to outpoint him. And he's not going to beat him on the ground. I don't think he's going to submit him. He didn't seem like he was doing much on his back. And I think he was baiting him. He was getting really cocky doing it, trying to take Chris Weidman out of his game plan, and that shit just straight fucking backfired. And he should have saw that coming because Weidman was getting close several fucking times. I'm thinking, wow, man, he's really getting squirrely with this shit, and he's dipping, and Weidman is like, whew. And I'm going, if one of these fucking things connects, it's not going to look too good.
And it only took one.
And that was it, man. That guy's got some heavy hands, and you know, you got to tip your hat off to Chris Weidman. We are two people that did not think he could pull this shit off.
I didn't think so. I thought Anderson would be able to use his speed like he's done against every other fighter, and it just backfired.
It backfired.
Miserable.
And there will be some people, and you know, and I would love to say, okay, you know what? Anderson Silva, he wasn't clowning around. He would have probably won the fight. You know what? There's a possibility that if he didn't clown around, he could have possibly won the fight. But you also have to think of why. We know Anderson Silva is famous for baiting people. And he's sitting there thinking, okay, you know what? I had some trouble with this guy on the ground. I'm going to fucking get him, and get him to come in and counterpunch. And you saw what he did up against the cage, and Chris Weidman stuck to his game plan.
To me, that's. I looked at Kevin, and in between rounds, and I said that was, in my opinion, the most impressive thing that happened in the first round.
And it is the most impressive thing that anyone has done.
And what I'm talking about is Anderson was up against the cage, tried to get Weidman to come in, moved away, and then went back. And what Weidman do? Weidman just put his hands down. Right. Didn't try to throw a punch like we saw Bonner. Didn't do anything. Put his hands down, walked right up to him, put his head on his chest, and just tied him up.
Yeah.
And that showed you right there that Weidman has obviously game planned, had a good idea, knew what to do when he was put in that situation. And like I've said to Kevin before, if you watch enough of these fights, fighters don't really change.
No, they don't.
Their game plans are the same because if you're winning, you usually stick what works for you. And Anderson's had no reason to change. And after tonight's fight, it doesn't sound like he wants to fight anymore.
I mean,
he does, but he doesn't. But
Weidman's camp had a good plan for Anderson.
They had a great game.
They had a great game plan. And you know what? There's another thing in the first round. He got Anderson in that heel lock, and people who are familiar with Anderson Silva, the last loss I think he had went that way. This guy, their camp obviously studied. They said that they had people that were going to come in there and try to upset Weidman, get him frustrated, bait him, and he was prepared for all that shit. And being an Anderson Silva fan, if you can't see that, then you got to relax a little bit, because I was thinking, man, this kid is fucking good. And when I interviewed the Yamasaki brothers, during that interview, if you guys go back, they were very high on Chris Weidman. And I told George, I don't really care what these other fighters are saying, because a lot of the times they don't know what's happening. But when Mario and Fernando both spoke that highly about Chris Weidman, I was like, wow, this kid's got to be something, you know. And he proved it tonight. It's interesting, and like Joe Rogan said, it makes it very interesting for MMA.
Well, all glory to God, because I mean, God won, as we saw tonight. God won every time. So I would just want to say, on the fight no one saw, God's the big winner.
Come on, man.
That was awesome. I'm glad to see he's on top again.
What happens next?
12-0. I don't know who God takes on next, but I bet he wins. Because Chris Weidman, the only reason he won tonight is because of God. He actually admitted that afterwards, and I was like, that's pretty fucking profound. Because I've never seen God
George
fight yet.
the atheist has spoken.
I'm not an atheist. It just blows my mind. The first thing, all praise. I'm like, all right, cool. I want somebody to go all praise to Allah or Buddha or another. There's another deity that other people pray to. We never hear about them. Well, so God, do they all lose?
Well, God could be God,
but they don't call it that.
I know. That's true. That's
so why I want to see that shit happen.
I'm you know, when Fedor
a little bit.
You threw me off track because you got so off the fucking fight, but that's why I love fucking George. But I said to George, I said, and if you remember this, yes. I said, you know what, George, we're kind of sitting here in this Anderson Silva era, back when we were kind of riding the people about loving Fedor, and there was a lot of people that were going, Chris Weidman's going to crush, and George and I were like, shut the fuck up. And it was funny because all these great eras do come to an end. You see it, and especially in fighting, man. I don't think there's ever been anybody who's just done it the right way and retired, you know? And you know, people who fight, they like to fight, and they can't get it out of them. And Anderson Silva,
I think he might be the one.
Yeah.
I don't think Anderson, yes, signed a 10-fight deal, and I will be shocked if he comes anywhere near
I
that.
think the way he was talking, he's going to keep fighting. I mean, I think, you know,
Who's
when
he
people,
fight?
I don't know, he's just Dana White will make great fights. He'll probably go up to light heavy. He could maybe create a super fight still, even though he's lost the fight. There's so many options for Anderson Silva and big paychecks. Right now, he's very frustrated. Yeah, Roy Jones Jr. He's frustrated. I mean, you lose, you hear people going, I'm retiring. We've heard that a million times from fighters. Now, then you get back, you train, you start looking at tapes, you see some of the mistakes you made, you think, you know what? Maybe I can beat this guy. Maybe I can totally redeem myself. Let me tell you something. If he fights him again, what's he got to lose? He could be just like GSP and Matt Serra. GSP and Matt Serra, right? Look at GSP where he's sitting now. You know, now Anderson Silva's 38 years old, but you still realize that, hey, you know, there's a lot of opportunity for him to have some big money fights, and he's talking about his family and taking care and being here in the States. Then I would be fighting 10 more fucking times.
Because here's the other thing. Those sponsors.
Yeah. Burger King will be gone. They'll be right on Chris Weidman's ass. Yeah. Yeah. You're not gonna get that money, those contracts, if you're not fighting. Believe me. Or winning. You notice they said, "Oh, you're not fighting." He goes, "Oh no, I got 10 more fights."
Yeah.
Right.
Or winning. It's not just fighting. You need to win.
You need to win. Now, with that being said, below the comment board, everybody. Yeah, below us.
Below the comment board?
No, below us is the comment board. Start tearing it up. And I know you guys are going to be all up in mine and George's ass because all the Weidman fans. But you know what? Congratulations to you guys because you called it.
And that dude, seriously, came to the ring with the correct game plan. He didn't let Anderson get in his head, and he caught Anderson being a clown.
He caught him exactly what it was. And he capitalized on it, and you got to fucking give it to Chris Weidman because he is nasty. Hopefully we'll see a lot more of this guy. And it'll mix it up.
Bisping's already challenged him.
Hey, you know what?
Ignore that tweet.
I like to see it because I want to see how good I base how good these guys are on how long they can hold the title, how long they can defend their title. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works for Chris Weidman.
Bisping versus Weidman right now. Who are you taking?
Weidman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's just
too much power, dude.
Yeah,
if he hits Bisping, lights are going out.
After the first round, I'm thinking, like I said, I thought Anderson Silva can only beat this guy by knocking him out because
And that fucking Brit with them Sherman hands ain't knocking shit out.
Yeah. Now, anyway, guys, we're out of here. It is fucking super duper late, and I am getting
early, depending on how you view shit. It's 10 after 1 a.m.
If you're over the pond, yeah. If you guys are overseas,
y'all are probably waking up.
Yeah, you guys getting ready to wake up, saying, "What the fuck, Kevin and George doing? Where's the video at? Where's right here, bitches? We're out. Deuces."